From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of In Focus. I am your host, Patrick Berry. 50 years ago this year, the war in Vietnam ended, and there are a slew of amazing stories that came out of those years of the Vietnam War. The sad one is that for the first time in American history, our veterans were not welcomed home with open arms. So it was a tough time during the Vietnam era, but there are some great stories that came out of it. One of them comes from a local gentleman who joins me today. Across the desk from me is William Bim Morey. He is a retired Army captain, former helicopter pilot in the Vietnam War, and he joins me today to talk a little bit about an amazing story. So, Bim, thank you so very much. Or should I call you Captain?
You can call me Bim, is fine. I'm out of the service.
There you go. So thank you very much for joining me, Bim. So you grew up here in Western Mass, right?
No.
Okay. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Buffalo, New York.
Okay. So
born and raised there.
How'd you end up in Western Mass?
Well, we've moved 6 or 7 times, and I ended up in Western Mass. I had a brother-in-law and sister here, and it was a great place to come to.
It is a wonderful spot. So when during the Vietnam War years, were you living in Buffalo at that time?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So how did you end up in the service? Were you already in the service?
Well, when I went to Norwich University in Vermont, is a military school, and I ended up as a second lieutenant upon graduation.
Okay.
So I was in.
So you were already in. So when the war happened, you were already in, and you were sent overseas.
Yes, sir.
So while you were in the service, what was your primary role?
Well, I started out as a second lieutenant commanding a 4.2-inch mortar platoon out of Fort Hood, Texas. And after 9 months or so, they moved me over into aviation. They didn't want all their aviators in June or any. So at that point, I went to aviation for 9 months in flight school, and that was the ticket to Vietnam.
You said they moved you over. So was flight school even on your wish list? Was that something you thought of?
Yep. Flight school was on my list. I had signed up for flight lessons in college in ROTC. And if you did that, you signed a 3-year contract with the Army.
Okay. All right. So they taught you how to fly, but the payback was you served for 3 years.
They taught me how to fly. We got 40 hours of flight in college. And, of course, that was fixed wing. And, of course, they didn't want fixed-wing pilots in the Army. They wanted rotary-wing pilots. So, obviously, I went to rotary-wing school.
So how long did it take you to learn how to fly a helicopter?
Well, it took approximately, to learn to fly it was probably 3 or 4 weeks.
Wow.
To learn all the intricacies, and et cetera. We spent 4 months in Fort Hood, Texas, Fort Walters, Texas, where flight school was. And then we went to Fort Rucker, Alabama, where we transitioned into Hueys.
Okay. So, and explain to me what a Huey is.
Well, a Huey is an HU-1C helicopter, single engine, main rotor blade and a tail rotor to it. And the particular ones I flew most of the time were gunships, had machine guns on it, rocket pods, etc., for combat.
Okay. So they were designed for the combat mission.
They were designed for, yes, I would say that, yes.
So, now, the role in combat of a Huey pilot is what? Supporting ground assault, ground crew, ground troops?
Absolutely. I mean, your job is to do what the ground commanders need you to do to help them win a conflict or get them out of trouble or whatever they are needing. And
so within that helicopter, what was in the body of that helicopter? You know, you, a co-pilot, gunners, ammunition.
I always had I always had a co-pilot. And then I always had 2 door gunners, one on each side.
Okay.
And the particular aircraft I flew as a gunship fired grenades, basically, on a machine gun style out of the front. And it carried 38 4-foot rockets. And
38 4-foot rockets.
19 on each side. And the door gunners were, a great set of additional eyes, which they gave up later in the gunship, but that wasn't my choice. But and you always flew with a wingman, so you would.
So it was always 2 helicopters in flight at any given time.
In gunships, yeah.
Okay. So going back in time, the date I think was mid-June 1967 when the incident took place. At that point in time, how long had you been in the service, and how many flights had you done?
Oh boy, I honestly couldn't tell you how many flights I'd done.
Okay.
It's got to be in the neighborhood of hundreds.
Right.
I say flights. You did many over here before you went over.
Right.
So I'd say probably a couple of hundred. But I'd been in Vietnam at that point probably about 7-8 months, and flying gunships pretty much the entire time.
And how old were you?
Oh, God, those were the good old days. I was probably 25, 26.
Okay, so as a young 25 or 26-year-old, you're commanding a Huey helicopter in country in Vietnam, launching grenades and 4-foot missiles at the enemy.
You did a lot of shooting and times didn't see enemy. Well, many of our missions were convoy might be attacked on the road by an ambush, and you would beat the heck out of a wood line. And were good guys there, bad guys there?
You had no idea.
You only prayed that you got bad guys. Right. You very infrequently saw a physical enemy to say I could shoot at it.
That had to be a tough time because, like you said, you're shooting into a wood line. You don't know who's there, good guys or bad guys.
You're absolutely right. All you know is what the commander on the ground said. He's receiving fire from that wood line. Help us out. Take care of it. Do what you can.
We are up on our first commercial break. We're here with William Bim Morey from the Vietnam War era. He's got an amazing story to tell, and we're going to come to that right after the break. Stay with us.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to today's edition of In Focus. We're here in the 22 News Plus studios. Across the desk from me is William Bim Morey. He is a retired Army helicopter pilot from the Vietnam War era, and he has an amazing story that we're about to get to regarding some rescues of American troops during Vietnam. Bill, just before we went to break, we talked about the time. So it was the summer of 1967. You were roughly a 25-year-old. Do you remember the day that the rescue took place?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, it was night, 2:00 in the morning.
Oh, it was 2:00 in the morning.
Yep.
Wow. So walk me through what happened. Well,
we always have 24/7 a fire team ready to take off on instant notice. I happened to be in command that night with the other helicopter. There were 8 of us in all. And the siren went off, which means get in your helicopter. They'll tell you on the radio where you're going. So we got the mission and found out that one of our own units, because we supported other units or any other military people that needed us, but it was one of our own units, was being attacked approximately 10 miles south of us. So we get a frequency to talk to the commander, gave him a call. He was surrounded by, they said, a battalion of enemy. And would I help support the north side? And you got to be careful because on the south side, they were shooting artillery into the enemy. And you don't want to get involved in that stuff because that can ruin a day. So we took the north side, took a minute or two to understand where our guys were and where the bad guys were. And it's 2:00 in the morning, mind you.
It's pitch black.
It's pitch black. You see some gunfire, and then much of the area was lit up with mortar flares that illuminated the combat
Okay.
area. And so we made probably 8 gun runs, which we fired. I couldn't tell you how many rounds, hundreds of and thousands of rounds. My door gunners would be shooting out the doors forward.
So when you say you made 8 runs, is that going out, unloading your weapons cache, and then going back and restocking?
No. On the same mission, you wouldn't expend all your ammunition on the first pass. So you're trying to figure out where enemy might be to increase your likelihood of helping. So you're probably only shooting up 20% of your ammunition in each gun run. And the lead ship, which was mine, would always break off a little early. And then your wingman would, if case the enemy could get a shot at your belly, he'd open up on him at that point. He'd cut off next, and we'd go around and do it again until we were either out of ammo or out of fuel.
Now, how high up in the air are you?
Oh, you're about 800 feet.
So you're not high up at all.
Oh, no.
So you are, because of you're only 800 feet up in the air, you're susceptible to enemy fire.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, so what goes through your head as you're, a 25-year-old, or is it one of those things? It's just adrenaline that you're not thinking, you're just flying.
You're just flying. It's the job. And I guess, frankly, I probably never really thought about being shot at that altitude. And
at that speed, it's going to be hard to hit.
Yeah, you're going, well, when you go straight at somebody, you're not moving.
Right.
In their mind, you're an easy shot for them. But that's why, you use all your firepower, so they decide, I'd rather get down in my hole and leave Morey alone. But you're absolutely right. A bad day was the day you came home and didn't think of anything had happened, and you find 6 bullet holes in your aircraft.
Wow.
That's scary.
I can't even imagine.
No.
So going back to that day, you get the call, you've got troops on the ground, they need air support. You go, what happens?
Well, at that point, after we expended 95% of our ammunition, and we were going back, we'd already called the fire team up to replace us because we had to go back and rearm and refuel. And they were on their way, so we were cutting back to go back and rearm and refuel. And the commander on the ground called and said they won't send in medevac helicopters because the area is too hot. And he said, what can you do? And as a gunship helicopter, you're not supposed to do medevacs. And the reason for that is the ship itself has a lot of armament on it just for the guns. So
there's probably not enough room for other people.
When people are injured, you'll get them on. It's a weight problem. You're strictly running a helicopter based on weight.
Okay.
We absolutely never filled the fuel tanks on them. You wouldn't get off the ground. It was cooler at night, so you could carry more fuel at night because the air is thicker. But in the morning, if you didn't take off again, you just dumped it on the ground.
Wow.
You had no choice. But he asked what we could do, and I said, you got to get a couple of those tanks out of my way, and I'll have enough room to put the 2 of us in there, which standing orders over there as gunships don't provide medevacs.
Right.
And so we went in and picked up 3 guys on each helicopter, and we left anything behind we didn't need. We left the rocket pods, which probably weigh 150 pounds. Anything we didn't need got left.
Okay.
And my door gunners probably had another 200 pounds of ammunition. I said, leave it here. They can use it here. And I said, save 100 rounds. And when we take off,
we'll need it.
If we need 100 rounds, that's all the time we got for it. So they did, and they tossed 3 guys in the back of each of our helicopters, and we took off.
So you disobeyed orders because, as you mentioned, Hueys were not supposed to or not allowed to. Gunships. We're not supposed to do medical evacuations, to expand on the term. But you did it anyway.
Well, if something had to be done.
You had six American troops surrounded.
Well, there were a lot of them. A lot of guys were injured. These guys, the medics, determined were just going to bleed out by the time it died down and they could get medevac ships in.
Okay.
So we did what we had to do.
So you fly in, you dump weight, you pick up these service members and skedaddle.
Unfortunately, got out, no problems.
Very good.
Yeah.
We are up on our next commercial break. There's still a little bit more to this story. It's got a happy ending, but I'll give you that little teaser. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back to today's In Focus. I am here in the 22 News Plus studio with a harrowing yet wonderful story that came out of the Vietnam War. Across the desk from me today is William Bim Morey. He's a retired Army captain and a Huey helicopter pilot from the Vietnam War era. Bim Morey, thank you so very much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate your time. So when we left, I teased there is a happy ending to this. So Captain Morey, you and your wingman, you brought these 2 Huey helicopters in, dumped weight. Each helicopter grabbed three people each.
Yep.
But you don't know anything more. You're in the captain's seat. You don't see what's going on behind you. You just know, all right, I need to land. Yep. People are getting bored. And then we're getting the heck out of town.
Yep.
So then what happened?
Well, then we returned to base, which was about 10 miles north. And of course, you don't check in with anybody, you refarm, refuel. And at that point, the conflict was over. So we didn't go back down. And we went to bed, hopefully not having to get up again. And then the next morning, my commanding officer found out I had performed a medevac. So his first words was, I violated his direct orders. That's a court-martial, and I'm grounded, and all this stuff, and he wanted to include my entire fire team, which I reminded him once they were off the ground, they weren't under his command, they were under my command. You can't touch them. His XO said, Morey's absolutely right. But anyways, so I went down to the hospital and saw the surgeon was there, he's the lieutenant colonel, he said, well, what do you want? What are you doing? Whatever. I said I was one of the pilots that brought 6 guys in last night. I want to know how they made out. And he said, well, you're a pilot? I said, I was until about 10 minutes ago. I said, and I told him what had happened. And so he points to his shoulder and he says, well, am I bigger than your boss? I said, oh, yes, sir. You're a lieutenant colonel. He's a major. And he said, you guys tell him to get his ass down here. And I said, sir, captains can't tell majors where to get their asses. But there was a little one-stripe private there that talked for the colonel. Big smile on his face. He says, sir, I can. And the major showed up in about 5 minutes. And the colonel walked over to him, and he's got a pad out, and he's looking at his name tag, writing down Martin, and your first name. Oh, I'm Francis. And he was real proud to have his name and all. And then the colonel said, and your serial number. And that took the major back a little bit. Why would you need my serial number? And he said, well, I'm going to put Morey and his team in for a Distinguished Flying Cross for saving 6 American lives. He says, I want to be sure I get the correct guy that chastised him and is stripping him of his ranks, etc. I want to make sure you get your credit. And, of course, the major's smart. That wouldn't look real good, sir, for me. He said, well, what are you going to do about it? And he said, what if I put him on flight status? And the colonel, smart guy, turns and he said, That's not good enough. He said, what do you want? He said, what if he never came off flight status? Why have it on your... I give the guy credit. I would have settled for taking it. Anyways, so the major and I went back to the camp, and of course he said, darn you, Morey. But I never missed a beat other than probably 2 hours of flying that morning when I was grounded. But I had no idea where these guys went, whatever. I couldn't find them. So then I found the 11th Armored Cav on Facebook. I'm not a Facebook guy. I found him there, and I knew that one of the units was a K troop from the 11th Cav. So they both had Facebook pages. So I sent my story into both of them. Could I find if any of the 6 are alive? Would they call me or whatever? And Gerald Bright eventually did from North Carolina, and we had a nice reunion on the phone. And I was going down there that summer in about 2 months with my family. So we ended up having a very nice luncheon together with 15 of his family and 15 of mine.
And you never knew him. I mean,
no.
You were just the pilot.
Yeah.
Troops were put on the back of your aircraft, and you flew them to safety into a hospital.
Yep.
And so what was Mr. Bright's, what was his reaction when he met you?
Well, it was kind of emotional, obviously. He seems to think God sent me somehow. I don't know. I'm a believer, but I don't think God directly got a hold of me. But Gerald's very appreciative, and probably the most appreciative was his daughters and grandchildren. As 2 of them said, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of touching to me.
So how old was he? Do you recall?
Yes, he's 5 years younger than I am.
Okay, so he was a 20-year-old.
He was a 20-year-old, yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating how, fast forward 50 years, social media, Facebook, you were able to reconnect.
Yeah.
Were you able to find any of the 5 others?
No. Still looking. That's why I appreciate the stories. Someday somebody will get lucky, and you'll find somebody.
What about anybody from your crew, your co-pilot, your gunners? Have you kept in touch with them? Or is it one of those?
It was just another day in Vietnam.
Yeah.
It wasn't special to us.
Yeah.
Obviously to Gerald it was, and the other 5, I'm sure. But no, it's just we were doing our job, and it was absolutely no different than yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
A fascinating story. Captain William Bim Morey, I cannot thank you enough for your service to our country and for rescuing those 6 American troops. Wonderful talking to you.
Thank you, sir.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.